Welcome to the Peak Collective. My name's Luca.
My name's Shane.
Where we talk no BS and just fitness. Today's episode, we're going to go through recovery and sleep and why it's so vital for health, performance, everything. Why is recovery so important?
Recovery gets you gains.
Why?
Because I think the old cliche is train hard, rest harder, right? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people, including myself, which you probably know from a first-hand point, is people underestimate the recovery side of things. If you're not recovered properly, your muscles are more stressed, your heart rate's more stressed. It can raise cortisol, it can hold body fat percentage, it can higher blood sugar levels, which means your results actually deplete and you stay at plateau or actually get worse through your training because your body literally can't cope with the demand that you're giving it to be stressed when you're training.
Yeah, I mean, you see it all the time. There's so many gym bros that you see at the gym where they're here 5-6 days a week. They eat reasonably well, but then you ask them about their sleep and there's nothing.
And it's really bad, yeah.
Yeah, they might have 4 hours, 5 hours sleep, maybe sometimes actually have more than that. But I don't understand why most people don't track their sleep. The next episode we're actually going to do is around fitness variables. We'll go into a bit more detail around that. But we always call it the 3 pillars, right? Fitness, with fitness is nutrition, sleep, / recovery, and then the actual exercise.
Yeah.
Even if you're just doing the exercise and nutrition but you're not sleeping at all, you're probably not going to recover. And most people forget when you're recovering is when you're actually building muscle. When you're exercising, you're not doing anything except for breaking that muscle down.
100%. And I think that's what you just said is where people get confused or don't know about it because they think, I've just ripped all my muscle, I've come out of the gym, I'm sweating, I hit a high calorie count, they're looking on their watches, their heart rate's in zone 3, zone 4, zone 5 even, and they're like, that's making me my gains, that's it. Let's go out on the town or let's stay up, watch a Netflix series, let's watch all 8 episodes, go to bed by 2 a.m, I can cope on 5-6 hours sleep, go back to work, do it again after work, re-rip your body, and they think that's the continuous cycle, that the workout is what's benefiting them the most, especially when it comes to aesthetics and feeling good when you're training, whereas the recovery process is in your sleep. That's the one time your body can shut down. Your brain can send all the signals to the muscle it needs. You're in a recovery state, so your heart rate is nice and low. The blood's circulating well with good oxygen when you're sleeping, which is why your sleep is really important. And if that's broken, no blood and no nutrients can get into the muscles that are broken down, so they just stay broken and never actually getting better, recovering or getting stronger.
Definitely. I think that something someone asked me the other day, and I think this is something I see more often than anything in the gym, is the 6 a.m. trainers, right? So they come here to train at 6 a.m. and they think, okay, I got the hard work done. All well and good if you're going to bed at 9 or 10 p.m. But there are loads of people out there that sacrifice their sleep in order to get to the gym. And I actually said to this person, they were asking me like, do I go to the gym in the morning but I'm only going to get 5 hours sleep? I was like, I'd actually rather you sleep and then just go gym later in the day. The thing I'd never understand is like the hardest work in the room thing, like The Rock, right? Where he says, I wake up at 3:30 in the morning, do my meditation, do all this, do all that.
We've seen Mark Wahlberg's one where he's like 3 a.m. wake up, yoga at 4 a.m, workout at half 4 a.m. Yeah. Ridiculous.
And it's all well and good if you're going to bed at 7, 8, 9, but you can get as much work done by waking up at 7 or 8 and just going to bed at 10 or 11. At the end of the day, the more important thing is, are you getting your sleep at the right time? So typically, I don't know how much people know around circadian rhythm, but typically you want to be sleeping when the sun goes down and waking up when the sun comes up. So roughly looking at 9 or 10 p.m. to about 5 or 6 a.m, give or take.
And I think a lot of people don't know about it or have never even heard that word before. And it's basically, that's when your body should be shut down, right? So you can actually get the alarms now. I don't know if you've seen these. I think they're called a Lumi or a Lumi light, that they slowly wake you up by brightening up your room. So you just put it as a normal alarm clock, but everyone just sets their iPhone or, whatever alarm they've got, and it's this proper, annoying, ringing, buzzing sound, and then you smack it off and you can sell it back to snooze. But this is natural. It has like bird sound effects and everything, but it brightens your room up so much that it's that natural light that your body needs. I don't know if I trust it or not, but I know a couple of mates that have got it, and they're like, it's hands down the best thing that's ever woken them up. And their energy levels are so much higher because it's like the age-old question that you wake up to your natural sunlight. Your eyes are awake, your mind's awake, and it's all natural. It's not forced by like a ringing in your ear.
I've wanted one for years. But again, literally what you just said, the ringing on the phone, one, annoying.
Yeah.
But two, you're not supposed to wake up like that, right?
No, exactly. It's so
You're
unnatural.
releasing the cortisol in your body, adrenaline's coming up because that fight or flight instinct literally gets awakened by some massive alarm.
Yeah, like you're in a deep sleep. You can be in REM sleep, you can be in light sleep, it doesn't matter. But you're in your nice, comfortable state. You might have even just fallen asleep if you're out watching Netflix all night. And all of a sudden, your body's stressed, you've woken up. How many times do you wake up scared because your alarm's waking you up? And then you've got to find your phone, you've got to look at your phone brightness, turn it off. Your body's gone into a high stress state and you've been awake for 3 seconds. And then you wonder why you're stressed and busy and, you know, your body fat's holding on a bit more. Well, you've been in a stress state since you've woken up, let alone when you've trained, worked, and answering emails all day.
100%. And I think you see this a lot, and this speaking from experience with like new parents in particular, where I did when I first had Isabella, my daughter, I did notice that I was trying to train as hard, as frequent as I used to. Very quickly realised, massive no-no. I was actually gaining more body fat from training because I was in such a bad recovery state from just not sleeping enough and then overstressing the body with more exercise. And I think this is where you need to look at, a lot of people talk about recovery as in like what you do to recover, and not a lot of people actually talk about the exercise itself and how much can you recover from exercise.
Yeah, of course you can.
I always say to my clients, what's the best split? There is no best split. The best split is what fits into your current lifestyle. If you're a new parent or you're a busy person that has 4 kids or you've got to wake up at 3 a.m, 4 a.m. every day, don't start training 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, twice a day, whatever else. Train the minimal. I think a lot of the time we're taught more is better, but that's not actually the case when it comes to exercise. It's actually enough stimulus to provide more muscle gain and give us what we want out of exercise. But too much is too much. And if you're doing too much and then you're having a lack of sleep for an actual reason, you're going to actually lose gains. You're actually going to lose muscle mass, you're going to gain body fat, and your metabolism, which we'll go into in a second, will literally just go...
Literally goes backwards.
Yeah.
And it makes a worse state, and then you get into the cycle of the gym's not working for me, my body's not changing, you know, my weights aren't going up, the workouts are actually getting harder, but they haven't changed or progressed as much. Well, this is back to what we said in many previous episodes, is your lifestyle and environmental factors are worse probably than when you started. You're still not sleeping, but now you're exercising 5-6 times a week, or, you know, you've got 2, 3, 4, 5 kids or whatever, and you're still trying to perform like an athlete, whereas you can't. Whereas sometimes, like you said a couple of seconds ago, going with the split, you could easily work out twice a week on the days you're really well recovered, go for a long walk another day, and then do 2-3 yoga sessions a week, which to most people listening to this will be like, that's not a lot. Like, you know, me and you could train twice in a day sometimes, and I'm telling people to train twice a week, but to your recovery status, that yoga will benefit your body more from the lack of sleep, and you'll get better results from the 2 workouts you do than doing 5 with a high stress level during your workouts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're looking at the split, right, is a lot of clients, I don't know how many clients you have where they first come to you, they're like, oh yeah, I want to train 5 days a week. It's the popular thing, right? 5-6 days a week.
Yeah.
That's bodybuilders, athletes, whatever else, they're training that much. You don't need to. Like, I've had amazing results just training 3 times a week because that's what my recovery needed at that point. Likewise, I've had amazing results 5 times a week, 6 times a week, but that's when I was going to bed at 10 p.m. every night. I was waking up at 6 a.m, so that's 8 hours solid sleep. And I want to get into now, and I remember the nutrition episode one about meal timing and how important is meal timing. And the one bit, the aspect, is going to be to do with sleep. Again, with the circadian
I agree with you with that.
There's a lot of studies that show if you eat too close to bedtime, you have to remember when you're sleeping, your body is literally digestion, so it's digesting all the food that you've currently had. The digestive system slows down so that you don't need to poo or wee during your sleeping. You shouldn't need to anyway, hopefully. And then thirdly, it's releasing all the growth hormone, everything else, right? If you're eating way too close to bed, I'm not on about like a carrot, but a meal, like a substantial meal or something like that, or caffeine close to bedtime, it is literally going to affect your sleep massively. I notice this a lot. If I go for a takeaway or have a big massive meal like at 8-9 p.m, go to bed at 10-11, my sleep is drastically impacted. It might not mean that I don't sleep for 8 hours, but I realise when I wake up the next morning, I just feel worse.
The 8 hours of sleep you did have was a lot worse than what it could have been.
Yes, 100%. I'm more sluggish. I have less energy from waking up. And I get a lot of people sometimes, again, in consultations, clients, where they say to me, oh, I have 8 hours sleep. And they say to me, but I'm always tired. Again, it's not about the length of time that you sleep for, it's the quality of sleep. And for me, the biggest impacts on that are always going to be, well, stress, obviously. But stress is part of training for that. Caffeine, how close to bedtime are you eating? How close to bedtime are you drinking? Are you drinking too much water before bed? All these things can result in bad sleep quality, which you'll quickly notice the next morning if you've had bad sleep.
Yeah, because then throughout your sleep, if you've eaten, a really heavy meal, maybe an hour before you've gone to sleep, maybe even a takeaway, like you said, or if you've had like an occasion on, in your sleep, where your body should be slowing down your digestive system, all the nutrients should be going around your body. If you've eaten, you've spiked everything. Your digestive system is through the roof. Your blood sugar level is really high. Your central nervous system is still ticking over. It's firing because you've told it to wake up. You've probably had carbohydrates, you've had fats, you've had high protein density, you've had a lot of calories for no activity in the upcoming 8 hours.
Yeah.
So that sleep where your body should be relaxing in a state of recovery, it's actually working double overtime. So yes, you can sleep for 8 hours, but you might as well be sleeping for 4. Because it's working twice as hard as it should be.
And I'm sure we've all had the 5 hour sleep and we feel amazing.
I get it all the time, especially when we work early.
Yeah. And then we've had 10 hours where you wake up and you feel like crap.
Yeah.
And again, that just literally shows where it's not the length, it's the quality of sleep. And let's get into other aspects of recovery, right? So obviously we talked about sleep. We talked about like stresses that can cause you to have bad recovery. Big one for me, meditation's a word that kind of gets thrown like everywhere, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, when they think of meditation, they think of the classic phrase of just like sitting like this, closing your eyes and meditating.
Crossing your legs up, arms around.
Yeah, right? And you can do like that. It's 100% a good way of meditating. Yeah. But I always look at meditation as just any form of practice where you're not on a screen, you're not watching TV, you're not doing something, you're just letting your mind kind of wander.
It's a state of relaxation.
Right? And again, let's go into it. Stress is a big impact on recovery and sleep, right? My meditation, I always tell everyone this, is journaling. So before bed, if you've got any thoughts in your head, be it business, personal life, whatever else, it's just writing it down. And people ask me, how do I write it down? Just write it down. It doesn't have to be paragraphs. It can just mine's literally just a mess. And instead of sitting in your thoughts for hours and hours and hours, it's just put on the page. And it's as if you've spoke to someone, but it's out there now. That and just breathing techniques.
Yeah, breathing techniques is a big one for me.
Yeah. Mine's the classic, just the 4-4-4, which is you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it, breathe out for 4 seconds. I just find it does relax me massively, and it will help a ton with recovery, especially just before that sleep aspect. Anything else from meditation?
Mine that I've been doing recently, because my workout has been just through the roof lately, is no screen time, no bright lights or anything, nice dark room.
Big one.
Because then my eyesight relaxes, my brain can relax, my central nervous system is just calming down before bed, at least half hour. And a big one is stretching before bed. And I don't mean, yoga, I don't mean sit on YouTube. I literally do PE in school stretches. Like, we all know the PE teacher that didn't want to be there at school, or someone's covering it. It's like, right, arm across the body, arm up over, one leg back. But genuinely, and I spoke to my chiropractor about this actually, and they were like, well, of course it is, because you're relaxing your joints, you're relaxing your body. So when you get into bed, it's a lot more comfortable. Your body's relaxed now because you've just been stretching. Your muscles are elongated, the fibres are stretched out, your joints aren't hurting as much. So when you get into bed, it's a lot more comfortable state. And then your mind is relaxed. And when you are stretching, like we went back to with the breathing, you relax your heart rate, right? You breathe slowly when you're stretching. Stretching's not an exercise, it shouldn't hurt. So then, genuinely on my Whoop, when I've tracked it, stretching before bed, I reckon 98% of the time I get a green recovery next day, which is about 85% over, which is actually really good for someone in our job.
That's actually a habit that I used to have, and I've kind of lost through the years, especially since having my daughter. But no, like from experience from doing it in prior, like absolutely.
Makes you feel so
I literally
much
used to do like child's pose.
Child's pose, cobra, world's greatest stretch, and then a couple of shoulder routine.
And I do say that to clients, to be fair. I would say to them just before bed or after bed or whenever you can. Absolutely. I think stretching in just general, it doesn't mean that you have to get super flexible. It just, again, like you said, just helps you just calm down.
Yeah.
And you can even add the breathing techniques with that.
In with the stretching. Yeah.
That's something I used to do a lot.
And then that's your meditation done.
Yeah. Meditation.
So you've hit 3 in 1 there, yeah.
Basically yoga.
There you go.
And then the ones that, again, we've spoken about these before, the trends, I guess you can call it, like ice baths, saunas, things like this. Again, absolutely will help with recovery, both different spectrums with heat and ice therapy. Personally, needed, I don't think needed. I think if I was looking at the screen right now, like what's needed for recovery, personally, would be sleep, stress relieving, so that can be meditation, stretching, whatever else. I think these are much more essential for the everyday person, which I think most of our audience are.
Yeah.
Saunas and ice baths absolutely can be. I'd put it to the same thing as like a massage, where it can help, but I don't think it's essential for, the normal average person that trains 2 to 3 times a week recovery.
To be relying on an ice bath for it. I think when it comes to recovery as a standpoint, let's talk about saunas and ice baths. They're good for, heating up your body, hemoglobin, getting the blood around the muscles, warming them up. With an ice bath, I definitely wouldn't do it anywhere near post 3 o'clock in the afternoon, unless you've just done a really hard workout. But that's a stimulus to wake up your body, right? The whole thing is that you do it in the morning, you do your breath work, you get in, it's cold, it wakes you up, it shocks your body into a fight or flight response, and then you're set for the day, right? That's your mental challenge for the day, you're done, you're set. But if you're doing that close to bed, your body's warming up to be ready for the day, and then you've got to shut it back down to go to sleep. So that's kind of a reverse effect. But on recovery from exercise, I think they can be a good standpoint if you're needing that 1% club that we always talk about.
Yeah.
And then with saunas, again, good. Warm you up, they can loosen up the body, very similar to a massage. It's the same response in erythema. So it's getting blood to the surface of the skin. But again, with sleep, just have a hot shower. Your body needs to cool down by 2 or 3 degrees, I think it is, to get to a sleep state, which is why when you're really hot, you struggle to go to sleep. If you have a hot shower, your body's got to cool itself down. So it's the reverse effect of an ice bath. I don't think you need to go be buying a sauna membership or buying a sauna in your back room for a good night's sleep. But again, for a workout standpoint, if you want to be an athlete or even further, or just for a luxury, it definitely can be helpful as well.
I really agree, both those points. Last thing for me on this topic, I just wanted to go through some actual statistics I've got here.
Far away.
Yeah, let's go for it. So, why is sleep vital? And they've actually done studies on this. So, men that get on average 7 to 8 hours of good quality sleep per night live 5 years longer. This is not including exercise or anything like that. Yeah. This is purely just sleep. And women 2 years longer. Again, just sleep. This is the biggest one for me, and I want to get onto this around this, is nighttime shifts. Some of you may actually do nighttime shifts. It is known to actually knock off years of your life by doing nighttime shifts, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's known that on average, you're talking about 15 years off your life by doing night shifts.
That's a long time.
And a lot of people think automatically, okay, cool, I don't do night shifts, so I'm fine.
Yeah.
You got to realise, it doesn't just mean you're working nights. No. This can just mean I'm up playing video games till 3 a.m. in the morning, and then I don't sleep, and then I sleep at 4 and then wake up at 1. Just, again, we'll go into the circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythm, for those that don't know, because I keep throwing it out there and I haven't actually explained it yet. Circadian rhythm is basically a thing that's literally inside our brain, where we're supposed to switch off, again, when the sun goes down, and we're supposed to wake up when the sun comes up. With our digestive health, everything else, right? Think of like an animal, think of a squirrel as an example. Yeah. You wouldn't see a squirrel at midnight walking around. It's pretty unusual. It's not a nocturnal animal. We're not nocturnal. It has a natural circadian rhythm, right? We're supposed to go to sleep at night.
Why did you go to a squirrel?
I just came in my mind. But point being is... I'm throwing off track. But the point being, right, is just because you're not doing night shifts doesn't mean that you're safe. If you're still staying up late playing video games, still staying up late watching Netflix, all these types of things. And there's a really good podcast I watched the other day. I can't remember who was on it, but basically they were explaining, it was a sleep expert that actually works on WHIP, I believe. Yeah. If you sleep past the hours of 1 a.m. at a very, very frequent rate, your class is a night shift.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you've got to think to yourself, oh shit, like that's a lot of people.
And I think people listening to this or watching this, whether it's Spotify or YouTube or even on a short, I think ask yourself the question, am I up with the kids post midnight? Am I watching a Netflix series because that's my downtime supposedly post midnight? Am I playing video games? Am I eating? Am I just staying up on my phone watching TikToks or something like that? Night shift that we're talking about does not mean working 12 p.m. to 6 a.m. for a night shift because you're getting paid a salary for it. Mm-hmm. It is you're outside of your normal working day and you're alerting your body in the rhythm that you're talking about where we should be asleep.
Yeah, and I'd put it in two camps, right? If you're someone that needs to work at night, absolutely, you've got to get food on the table, right?
We're not saying don't, but you can.
Don't optionally be a night shift
Keep yourself
worker,
awake,
right?
Yes. Yeah, don't force yourself to be a night shift worker.
If you're someone that works 9 to 5, why are you up at 1 a.m., 2 a.m.?
Exactly.
Get to bed, and let's just run off, I think, the last tips right at the end of this episode. Again, I think your tip was amazing, is no screen time before bed. Half an hour to an hour. I'd do an hour if you can, possibly, depending on your lifestyle. My preference is just reading a book. Not as on my screen, a book.
Yeah.
So that I'm off the screen and I can just relax, calm down. What about you? Just a last minute tip to love. Don't
have caffeine after 3 p.m. That's a big one I learned. No, but we're going to be up with filming, that's fine. But if you're aiming to be asleep by 9 p.m, like we said, if you're going to be up at 6 a.m, whether that's for work, training or anything like that, caffeine's got a 6-hour time window. For us, we drink a lot of caffeine. My tolerance is really high, so I could probably get away with it sometimes. Not all the time, but obviously if you're having 1 or 2 a day and your body's quite tolerant to caffeine and it does spike you up, that 6-hour window, if you're having it at 3, you're going to finish at 3:30. 6 hours later, it's 9:30. If you're trying to wind down, you've still got that caffeine ticking over you. If you've had 2 coffees, that's double the amount. Yeah. So I'd say try to limit caffeine from about the 3 p.m. window. That always helps me.
100%. Last thing for me.
Go on.
Chamomile tea.
Oh, yes. No, actually, flavoured teas,
bed.
Decaffeinated, chamomile tea, something like that. I have it every night.
Yeah.
Digestion.
Chamomile tea with a little bit of honey.
Yeah.
Typically around 10 p.m. When I'm unwinding. Done that for years.
Make sure there is no caffeine in them. They shouldn't. Some do. Trust me.
Unless they've added. But that just, I don't know. There's science that says it does calm you down. I just find it does calm you down. I don't know exactly the full science behind it.
That's my digestion. It makes me fall asleep because my body warm.
Yeah, it's kind of that relax point. But last bit from me.
Yeah, last one. Don't be a night shifter.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.